Hello everyone, welcome to the Green Man channel for another album review, but this time it's not a Friday night album review like I usually do, but this album's too good to leave out from the last week of albums that have been released. It is the fourth studio album from progressive metal outfit Rivers of Nihil. The album was released by Metal Blade Records on Friday. It is 11 tracks and it's 1 hour and 5 minutes in length. And really, if anyone to ask me for some really good progressive metal, or what's some really good progressive metal from the last 10 years or so, it's likely that this band would be on the tip of my tongue, because Where Owls Know My Name was a really excellent album that I think I may have featured on my albums of the year list for that year, and it was very high up, and it is they have a wonderful mix of sounds that doesn't sound forced. I always think they kind of have, sounds natural enough to me to work for what it is they have to offer. And there's lots of kind of atmospheric, kind of industrial touches, jazzy influences to their music. I can hear a lot of King Crimson influence in what they do quite often. But at their core, they have that kind of djenty death metal sounds that they sort of, these kind of at the centre of a lot of their choruses and a lot of their kind of verses in their songs. But they are a really interesting up and coming. I've got to say up and coming. This is now their fourth studio album, so by now they're sort of really establishing themselves in the progressive metal arena. And this latest release by them is really there's quite a variety of ideas and styles that I feel like they've thrown into the work, and for the most part I think they've pulled it off really well, and as a result we have another really excellent Rivers of Nihil album, following well, I think, in the footsteps of Where Owls Know My Name. Is it better than Where Owls Know My Name? I will leave that till the end of the video. But the atmosphere and the some of the styles they've adopted in this album, I think, contribute really well. It makes it a bit more longer, a bit more elongated, but there's rarely a moment where I wasn't completely sort of thinking, what's this band doing? What are they going to do next? Moments that you remember well after you've finished listening to the album as well, which is always a good sign that you're going to go back to it a lot in the future. And I feel like with the work, I've got that feeling very much. So let's go into the tracks a bit more. I think I'll go into actually, a few of my standouts, the ones I really liked. I mean, Dreamy Black Clockwork felt like that was a bit more familiar, a bit more of a familiar Rivers of Nihil. It's kind of a track, but as it got towards the end, it went into that cool kind of King Crimson like breakdown, and then finished with a really sort of creepy, noisy sounds that brought us to the end of that track, and then it went into Wait, which was almost completely different. In fact, in this track, you almost had influences of the shoegaze bands that I think of and that I enjoy, like My Bloody Valentine and Slowdive, because they had that really interesting reverb wash part of this song, which was fascinating. And you still got harsh vocals that came in later in this track as well. So it was a really interesting, fascinating kind of a song that I think they pulled off pretty well. And even though it was quite a change in direction from the previous track, I still thought it had something to offer, and I still really liked it. Focus and Clean were the two singles on offer here. I think of the two, Clean is my preferred track. Just fantastic stuff here. And the complementing of, I think it's in this track, there's that great complementing of vocals, the harsh vocals of the lead singer, and then you get another harsh vocals complementing, I think maybe from the guitarist or somebody, I don't know who it is actually that does the other harsh vocals in this band, but it's fantastic. And then you get some really cool keyboard parts that were reminiscent of Shine On You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd towards the end of this one as well. Another highlight of this album for me. And I loved The Void from Which No Sound Escapes as well. Wonderful track. Definitely one of the big atmospheric cuts of this album. Now, if you're looking for the more aggressive, more brutal Rivers of Nihil, the kind that was delivered to us in droves in Monarchy, their second album, More, question mark, that track, is definitely one you'll enjoy, I think, and perhaps will be your favourite if you're more into the brutal Rivers of Nihil kind of a sound. This was fantastic. It might even be, actually, even though I love this whole album, I think it's a good album as a prog album from the beginning to the end of it. More was a real standout track. It's absolutely wonderful in its kind of, it's pretty menacing, but as I say, a bit like a bit better than a Monarchy track. This had so much going for it, so many riffs that all flowing nicely together. Great track, and a short one as well on this album, which was kind of refreshing in a way from the longer, more atmospheric cuts we get from a large part of this album. Tower 2, also a pretty good shorter track, and then you get into the 3 longer cuts at the end of the album, the episode. Really cool track, again evoking some Pink Floydian kind of sounds and melodies in this one. Maybe One Day, actually, I felt, again, I'm going to mention even more 70s prog bands. Maybe One Day felt like a bit of a Yes kind of a track, the sort of style of song that might not be so misplaced on something like Close to the Edge, I don't know, but I felt a Yes influence with that one. The final cut was a brilliant ending, I thought, one of the album closers of this year, Terrestrial for Work. And I love their Terrestrial songs, all the Terrestrial tracks I always seem to look at and think, yeah, really like that one. I may have to actually make a playlist of all the Terrestrial tracks back to back, because I feel like, I wonder if there's a flow. Surely the band have tried to get those to flow together, if you're a big fan of a band like me. Anyway, that's where I'm going to leave this for Rivers of Nihil. As I say, what did I think? I did say I was going to say if I think it's better than Where Else Know My Name. I don't want to sort of stay on the fence, but it is quite early in this listening. I think I might come to enjoy this more, and that's because I love atmosphere in a lot of prog albums that I really enjoy. And there's a huge amount of atmosphere on this album, and interesting progressive sections of music that I think I'm going to keep coming to. But yeah, it's a very narrow thing. I mean, I'm going to give this album a 9 out of 10 for its scope, its ambition, and the fact that these guys, I think, have pulled off a great job with the work. Anyway, as always, do like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video, if you like album reviews, if you like rankings, listings, all that kind of thing, as well as my coverage of sci-fi, fantasy and horror. Otherwise, enjoy your evenings. Hope to see you next time. Take care, everybody. Goodbye.